You mentioned earlier that a lot of the evidence is found in the medical record. So when you go to a doctor has notes in the record that generally, obviously, vary depending on the doctor, from very detailed to not detailed at all. What can you do? What can we do when the record doesn't necessarily match the injury or it doesn't relay the injury well enough? What's some things we can do?
Well, and we see that oftentimes when someone's at the emergency room. Emergency room physicians or attendees can get a little busy. Emergency rooms are hectic. And oftentimes there's a little bit of discrepancy or factual errors within emergency room records, and that's not uncommon. For instance, I've seen some where, there's CT scans of the head, but then no mention of the head injury. Well, obviously, somebody talked about a head injury, or else no doctor would have ordered a CT scan of the head if there was no mention of the head injury. So that can be an error that can be something to deal with, but hopefully the overwhelming cumulative impact of the other records are enough to overwhelm a slight clerical error in another record.
Okay.
So that's one example, but treatment consistency is really the only way to overcome that. And very clear communication with your doctors when you go to the doctor is a way to overcome that on the front end. So the tendency might be to, okay, well, I'm going to see my general physician. He's not a back doctor, so I may not talk about my back. I'm going to go see my orthopedic doctor who takes care of my back, and I'm going to see a neurologist for some other nerve pain in my leg, so I'm not going to talk about that with that doctor. Well, then you have one record that shows this, one record that shows that. There's inconsistency there. Again, that's something liability carriers like to take advantage of. It can be very helpful to just talk about everything you have going on with every doctor. And that way, even if there's a slight error in the record, the overwhelming evidence of the rest of the records are normally enough to show that, hey, listen, there was a clerical error in this record, but the rest of the records are very consistent. We know what's going on. This is the injury.
Okay.